What up, what up? This is Coach Liebs bringing you episode 6 of Coach Talk on this beautiful Monday. For those of you who follow Don Bosco Prep football closely, you know what time it is. We play our biggest rival, Bergen Catholic, this week. And this is the week that everybody looks forward to in the Bergen Bosco community. This game is why so many players on both sides go to either school. Whether you grow up with family at Bergen or Bosco, you grow up watching the games. This game is very meaningful, I think, to the entire state of New Jersey and means the world to, the players and coaches on both sides. And I heard someone make a comment the other day that, if you go 1-9 in a season and you beat Bergen, at least from an outside perspective, a lot of people will be okay with that. And obviously it's the opposite of what we're going for, but it just shows you how much this game really means. And it's interesting thinking about rivalry games like that, just how much more everything's amped up. Like the energy yesterday, was different. Everyone's focus gets a little bit different. The talk is different. I don't think anybody spends a second thinking about anything other than this game from, the time we beat West Orange last week until now. Just to recap last week, I was saying how we were hoping that we'd go out and execute at a high level, and we did. We were up 33-0 at half. Ended up winning by 20, 30 points. It was good. We got to play some of the younger guys. But as far as the varsity kids, we did everything we needed to do to take care of business, take care of that next step. Made some big plays in the passing game. Really got the run game going, which was great to see. And now we're on to the biggest week of the year and excited to take on the challenge. From a coach talk perspective, what I've really been thinking about over the weekend, I was talking to some of my former players at Wesleyan who they had their first game this weekend and they won. And, it was just interesting talking to them because they played a game, without me for the first time. And we had obviously a very close bond there. And, I was talking to a kid who's a senior captain who plays receiver. And we were talking about leadership. And I was talking to him and reflecting to him about how uncertain I was at times when I was leading them because I was a young leader. Like my first year coaching at Wesleyan, I was 24, 25 years old. And even though I had learned from a lot of great people and I had learned from great leaders, I had never built a culture myself. I had never run a position room myself. And I was, kind of confiding in him in how uncertain I was at times at how to approach things, how to handle different situations. But, I think as a young leader, a lot of times when you're in those spots, you just have to trust your gut. And I spent a lot of time thinking and reflecting about what's the next move, what's the best way to motivate these guys, what do we need to do better. And I think that in those situations, you never really know how to handle it, what the best way to go about it is, what is the absolute best message you can send. But I think it's okay to be wrong. I think that as long as the people following you, as long as the people you're leading, they know that they can see you working your ass off and they can see that you're the hardest worker around and they know that you love them, it's okay to be wrong. And there was a time, a legendary story for us up there. There was a time when, the off-season workout attendance was kind of spotty about a year ago up at Wesleyan. So I held a receiver meeting. I called them all in. I was like, hey, we got to meet. I need everyone to come in, emergency meeting. We got something really important to talk about. And it happened to be raining on this day. It was pouring out. And we had a meeting at lunchtime. This was in the off-season. And they all came down to meet, and I didn't show up on purpose. And a lot of kids were mad at me about it, but it really was like a turning point in the chemistry of our group, because I think they were kind of just taking some things for granted, taking me for granted, the effort and love I put into everything. And it was like, hey, you guys want to pick and choose when you're going to come to workouts. I can pick and choose when I want to, do things as well. And it was a message that I was, telling this kid. I was like, I have no idea if that was the right thing to do or not. At the time, I took a chance. To me, it felt right. And, as much as people were upset with me at the time, it ended up sending the right message and helped us turn the corner and helped us really believe in each other and love each other and start to do things the right way. And, there's little things like that we talked about. And I just think it's interesting to talk about young leadership and how it is okay to be uncertain and how you're going to be uncertain. Because how are you supposed to know if you've never been a captain in college ever, if you are a young football coach, how are you supposed to know what's right or wrong? And I think it's okay to be wrong as long as you believe in your values, you are spending the time thinking about, what the next move should be, and you're doing things the right way in your mind. And you're the one who has to rest your head on the pillow every night and look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with the decisions you make. And if at the time you believe in what you did and you want to reflect and say, I should have handled this differently, then handle it differently next time. But I think that guys won't stop following you, even if you make questionable decisions. Guys won't stop following you if they can look at you and they know you're the hardest worker and they know that you love them, that you have the freedom to kind of, figure it out as you go. Just continue to work hard, just continue to, believe in your guys and lift them up, and then, get on them and push them and motivate them when you have to. The other thing, spending a lot of time talking with these Wesleyan guys, and the culture is really changing up there, and it's a lot of what we built when I was there, and now they won this game. They beat Middlebury by 40 points this weekend. I think they got a really chance to finally be a championship program. And it's something that what really hit me was as a coach, you can never take for granted the things you say to your players, even in casual moments, casual conversations, from casual conversations to the meeting room when you are lecturing them or teaching them or trying to inspire them. But you always got to be conscious of the things you say. And now that I'm not up there, I'm talking to all these kids and they're all telling me how, Coach, well, I always think about this time when you said this. I'll never forget the meeting where you admitted to us, that you were uncertain, but that's okay. Just all these things that in my mind, I'm just talking to them like, a normal person. And I wasn't really overthinking let me make sure I say this. I wasn't necessarily conscious of the things I was saying. And those ended up being some of the most meaningful statements I ever made to them, in hindsight, the way they're telling me that those are some of the things that keeps them going, that when they need extra motivation, when they need an extra push, they kind of draw on those times where I was just being an honest person and being myself and confiding in them. And I just think it's a lesson for coaches. It's something that really hit me in the head. I was like, man, you can't ever take for granted the things you say to these kids. And before the game, this was supposed to be a close game this weekend for them. And before the game, the captain, the receiver who's a captain, was telling me that, he thought that the team had done good work. He thought that they were prepared, but he still didn't know. And he was just taking an ice bath with the D-line coach up there. And he said, when that coach looked at me and said, we're going to win this game, he's like, that's when I had no doubts. That's what erased no doubts. As soon as I trust that coach so much that as soon as he was confident, it gave me all the confidence in the world. And it's a similar message. Just don't, who knows? He would probably just, being honest, but saying, yeah, we should win this game, whatever. And to hear how much that inspired a captain and how much belief that gave him, just from simply saying, I believe in you, we're going to win this game. You can't take those things for granted. And it's why I think most of us coach football, is because of our position to inspire kids and move kids and better kids. But it's something you can never lose track of, no matter, in high school football, a lot of times you're getting off your day job, you worked a long day, you're rushing to practice, you might be tired, you might have hit traffic, you might be frustrated, whatever it is, right? In college football, a lot of times there's a succession of long nights where you're in the office till 1, 2 a.m. every day, 10 days in a row, 20 days in a row. And it's easy to be grouchy. It's easy to be, upset. It's easy to be in a negative mindset. And you got to do whatever you can do as a coach to bring that positivity and bring that inspiration, because these kids are just yearning for it. And these kids are just hanging on to your every word. And it was really cool to learn that lesson myself. It's something I've been conscious of, but it really was hammered home to me today, talking to a lot of my former players and hearing of the different ways that I've inspired them in ways that I had no idea. There are things where, I've been running workouts or the things I would preach during practice, how hard I was on them in practice, all the conversations we've had. I knew that those made an impact, but it was the casual conversations, the everyday conversations, the me just opening up to them as a person and being myself and not trying to hide things and letting them into my life, that really made the biggest impact. And it's cool to think about, because it makes me emotional, because that's exactly why I coach football, and it's exactly why I have so much love for those kids, for these kids at Bosco now. I have so much love for my players, and I think it's one of my greatest strengths as a coach, because it makes it that when you connect with players on that type of level, it's just natural. You're going to sell out for them more than you would for another kid. So, that's kind of my thought for the day. Love your players, coach them hard, love them even harder, and don't ever take for granted the things that you say to them and the impact that it may have on them. So that's all I got. Rivalry week. Looking forward to it. Going to be a great week of practice. High energy all week. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.